My name is Sean. I'm a houseplant enthusiast from Jakarta, Indonesia. I'm at Taman Lapangan Banteng where they're having a plant event here. It's only for about 1 week long, but there's a lot of plant enthusiasts here. There's a lot of flowering plants as I pass by this place, but it's very, very noisy here. As you can see, I actually found a quiet spot to film this introduction, so you can only imagine how noisy it is by the booth. So I'm going to be doing a voiceover, but I'm going to be showing you some of the plants that I find interesting that I might be in the mood to get, because I am looking for some plants that can withstand full sun.
Well, hello, we're at the first booth where we're greeted by this Achcananthus, or the lipstick plant. They flower really beautifully. This is a very common plant, very inexpensive to get, and they have a similar care requirement as Hoyas. These plants are usually sold in hanging baskets and they trail really beautifully. There are a lot of begonias down below, and look at this Marantha. I still can't figure out, after all these years, this Marantha is still called the no ID. These guys do flower often, so you always have to nip the flowers off, and back there there's a regular red-striped leuconoria. We see a bed of begonias here. I don't know all the names per se. This one is a popular one called the Masoniana. They love to dry out in between watering here in our humid climate, but I know that overseas they want to be kept in slightly moist soil all the time. So begonias can be highly misunderstood in terms of care depending on where you live. This hybrid here has caught my eye many times. It's in my wish list, but I think I should care for my begonias better before I take on new ones. This one has really beautiful and feisty foliage. They do flower frequently. This is why begonias are hybridized very often, and we can enjoy many varieties of them. The Stromanthe Triostar. This is a very difficult houseplant to care for, definitely not for beginners. They seem to do better in grounds and landscape settings than in pots. They like to dry out between watering, but not for too long. And look at how beautiful the foliage is on these. And then below here there's Calathea White Fusion, also a very difficult Calathea to care for. These guys are very prone to spider mites and can revert to green when you don't give it a bit of direct sunlight. The Epischia is probably one genus that I mentioned too much on my channel. I adore them. They're fast growing, easy to grow. They make great hanging baskets and they trail beautifully. They have fantastic foliage that comes in many colors and flowers so nicely. The Syngonium Podophyllum Variegatum. This is a very common syngonium, fast growing, and this will teach you a lot about care for variegated aroids. Next we have the Syngonium Pink Splash. Not a big fan of pink syngoniums, but a lot of people love them. The Peperomia Rosso. They have almost black foliage with really bright red underside. This is actually not easy to care for, and they ship really badly. So if you're gonna pick up one of these, do not buy them online. You're gonna have to pick it up in a nursery in person so that they don't decline badly. They're actually quite easy to propagate, much easier to propagate than they are to rehabilitate. I do not recommend this plant for beginners. They're really more for advanced plant parents, but I really appreciate seeing these everywhere I see them. Peperomias love cooler climates that is a little bit humid. Next up, we have alocasias that used to be so popular, so very sought after. That's the black velvet and the silver dragon. There's actually a lot of the details in the silver dragon, especially the red underside. If you look at the veins, it's actually quite stunning. They're actually easy to grow and easy to propagate as well. They put out lots of pups very generously. And these are some healthy pots of Phytonias that are even flowering. These are actually bracts, and little flowers come out from these bracts. And look at this amazing pink veining in contrast with that green bracts that is put out. This is not an easy plant to care for, but so happy to see it thrive here. Syngonium Green Splash. This is easy on the eye and also easy to care for because it's a syngonium. Some Alocasia Dragon Scale. This is also a very easy Alocasia that I recommend for beginners because it doesn't have that velvety leaves. And next we have the Alocasia cuprea that I've killed so hard. I propagated it and then I just killed all the babies. So I am really in the market to get some of these. Again, look at how beautiful the red back looks. But I think I am going to skip today. I'm not going to get this today because I really want to focus on decorating my front yard. And next we have another peperomia that I really love, the Incana. This is actually very succulent-like leaves with fuzzy texture on the leaves. They love very bright indirect light. Some direct light can actually burn it, or if you grow this in low light, they will exfoliate really badly. This is not an easy peperomia to care for, and you don't want to overwater it because it does have very succulent-like water storing features. These are actually very fun and satisfying to propagate and not difficult at all. You can cut them and stick them back into the same pot to create a full pot of it. I've included the seller information on the screen in case you want to check it out. They do not export, but they come from Chiapas region. And we've done many videos of nursery tours in that region. It's up in the mountains, so it's high humidity, cool air, and the plants absolutely thrive there. Look at all these beautiful calatheas. Sometimes when we bring them back to our lowlands in Jakarta, they suffer quite a bit. So calatheas are really not for beginners. A lot of people have tried and failed. By the way, it looks like it's flowering, but that is in fact a bract, not the flower. The flowers are the little white things that come out of the bract, and they can put out multiple flowers per bract. This is how people hybridize them, and we can enjoy many different hybrids. Here are some anthuriums, and Chiapas region is well known for its anthurium diversity. A lot of anthurium hybrids come from there. They are very happy with the setup, with the environment. And this one here is a beautiful dorayaki, and maybe like a hybrid even, because a lot of the plants there are no longer a pure species. This is really stunning, but I really gotta focus on my shopping because I'm looking for full sun plants for my front yard. But that one is a stunner. Look at the form and the silver veining. Oh, it's very hard to let that one go actually. Next, we have the Peperomia caparata ruby. They look almost black in person. It's coming off a bit silver on the screen. Beautiful foliage actually. They make really good ground cover. They have dark red stem and underside as well. And look at this one pot. It's insane. It's so bushy, massive, and is flowering very profusely. Peperomia is also another genus that flowers very often and profusely, and this is how people can hybridize them, and we also can enjoy many different hybrids of these. The Avodia silvalens is a very interesting plant in the citrus family, and this has very strong mosquito repellent properties, probably because it is in the citrus family. They do have fruits that is edible, and when you run your hands through the foliage, it smells really wonderful. They can actually grow up to 40 meters in their natural habitat, but we tend to keep them as shrubs in landscaping. Look at this cute little tiny eggplant. Such a small plant would have produced fruits already, and I'm noticing here that one of the leaves have some kind of pass in. Yeah, you see that in the back? Those are some spider mites. You can see from the front of the leaves when they have bite marks. Now, a lot of these fruiting type plants tend to draw insects and pests to eat them. The next booth is Begonias pot plants. They are known to have a lot of aroids in their nursery. I'm pretty sure they do export as well, so feel free to reach out on Instagram. Philodendron Variegata. This is used to be a bit rare, and now they're common, and I've seen them in landscaping everywhere. They are really fast growers and very easy to grow actually. You can let them climb up a pole or a wall, or you can also let them trail down. Next, we have a Philodendron Verde, beautiful plant that grows really fast. A lot of pink princess. They've really come and saturated the market here, and now they've become very affordable. These pinks are actually quite striking, and this one leaf has such beautiful variegation on it. I think it's safe to say that anybody who ever wanted a pink princess has managed to get one by now. This, I believe, could be the white princess, but I could be wrong. The Epipremnum amplissimum variegated. This is also easy growing, fast growing, and they do love to climb. They're climbers. So I don't know if many people like this kind of shape or form, but I particularly like the way it looks. Next up here, we've got the Monstera obliqua. What are you still doing here? They used to be so sought after, and nowadays nobody wants them anymore. The Monstera Adansonia variegated local or mint, and the Stanleyana variegated. This one I haven't had one yet, but I meant to collect it at some point, so I'll be patient. Now I don't know what this is, but this looks like a philodendron that's variegated. I've ruled this out as a subhastatum because it doesn't have that red back that subhastatoms have. Now we've got some really rare plant finally. Philodendron UPI, this is still pretty sought after and expensive, beautiful form and shape. And next to it, the Lalanmiano, this is even more rare, and each leaf looks different. I mentioned that they look like a key that unlocks something because of how different each leaf looks from one another. The Philodendron Sharonii, one of my favorites. This is still a baby, but when they become large and mature, they're so gorgeous. Philodendron tortum, always a classic. They have these palm-like leaves and they unfurl really beautifully. They used to be expensive, but I think they're quite affordable now. This is a Philodendron hederaceum that I've seen in Thailand and only recently seen in Indonesia. So people have been importing it from Thailand, but I do not know the name of it. Feel free to let me know if you know the name. Philodendron strawberry shake, always a pleasant to see these. And next we have some Florida Beauty. Look at the beautiful variegation on these. This collection here has some wonderful and high quality variegation, so I do recommend this. Now when you buy these, do not get those like cheap ones that have very little variegation because they tend to revert very quickly. So you really want to start off with a plant with good genetics. The Philodendron Whippleway. Look at the beautiful flamingo pink new growth. This is actually a stunning plant. I would love to have one at some point, but the price is still not justified at this point. Normally when I see these, they're sold as single leaf cuttings. Philodendron Verrucosum, I think this is a hybrid with Milano or Gloriosum, I can't tell, but this is not looking like it's a Verrucosum. Syngonium chiapense variegated. Now as a Syngonium, this is fast growing and pretty easy to grow, and the variegation is quite beautiful on these. Some of them look like it's like a world map or something, and this one here has a beautiful sectoral variegation. Next we have the yellow variegated Monstera, or we call it the Marmorata here in Indonesia. These are still pretty young, so they're not fenestrated yet, but you can see that the variegation looks good. Now with these guys, when the new leaf comes out, they do not have any variegation. You've got to wait 2 to 3 months until the variegation start appearing. The Rhaphidophora foraminifera variegated. Always a pleasure to see these. They're actually quite beautiful and the variegation seem quite stable. A lot of Anthurium hybrids. Now I'm figuring out if this is a Veitchii or if it's a Veitchii hybrid. The hybrid tends to grow faster and is easier to care for than the pure species form of it. It's easy to say that Anthuriums are the #1 houseplant right now that is most sought after. There are so many varieties and so many hybrids coming out from all over the world, especially from Indonesia. Next we have the Philodendron Warzowiskii. These can get enormous and there's many different colors. There's the green form, there's this yellowish one, and I've seen mint ones as well. They seem to be able to take a lot of direct sunlight, and I would dare say full sun even. Look at their chubby trunk here. They almost don't need a moss pole or a wall to climb onto, but I'm pretty sure they do. They need something to lean onto or climb onto. This is the perfect plant to shield some of the lower plants down below from direct sunlight. Next we have the Monstera Burl-marked Flame. They're actually quite gorgeous. When they are larger, the leaves do fenestrate, and these are very sought after currently as well in the houseplant market. The price has peaked quite a while ago, so I think they're a bit more affordable now. Now this next plant is a Homalomena sp Sumatra from Sumatra. Beautiful foliage on these. Actually the leaves are very thick, but these guys are very thirsty for humidity. Look at the beautiful red underside, and they do flower very profusely. So you always have to nip off the flowers whenever they do. And for me, I always have to rescue these. Every time I put them out of the prop box, they do okay for about a few weeks and then they will struggle and I would have to put them back in the prop box. They're also quite easy to propagate by stem cuttings. Philodendron Dragon Variegated, one of my favorite plants. The Emydrium Zippelinum Variegated. Not everybody likes this plant or this form or this look, but I find them quite interesting, quite fascinating, and they add a layer to the jungle, to the vertical walls, because not a lot of plants look like that. The Philodendron Florida Bronze is a hybrid between the Florida Ghost and the Black Cardinal. This is why it's come out with these almost black leaves that turn green over time. This is an interesting hybrid that took over the market very quickly. These are some baby variegated Emydrium Zippelianums. They look terrible when they are young, but trust me, they actually look amazing once they've reached maturity. There are a lot of variegated Scindapsus around here, and this is a Rhaphidophora puberola variegated. I think for the variegated Rhaphidophoras, not many people collect them. This is why not many people produce them, but this is also why the prices have remained stubbornly high. And I don't see it becoming a trending or hyped up plant anytime soon. And next up here we have got the Epipremna marble. Now I've seen a lot of them in Thailand and I'm only starting to see them here in Indonesia, so welcome to Indonesia. I don't know where they come from originally, and here we have many types of variegated Scindapsus. It's mind-boggling. We're still discovering many new varieties. Up to this day, some of them have white variegation, some has yellow variegation, even within the same species. The prices of these variegated Scindapsus has probably peaked, but I might be very wrong. But a lot of people have come to collect these and propagate them, and they're rather fast growing and easy to grow. So I'm guessing they will saturate the market quite soon. So for those of you who want one, I don't think you have long to wait to get your hands on one of these. Next we have a baby palm. Look how cute that is. It is sprouting from its little palm fruit or like coconut, and this is one that has bright red stem and green foliage. They can become very large, and this is actually a beautiful palm that is used quite often in landscaping in tropical Southeast Asia. This booth seems to specialize in full sun plants like your palms, adeniums, cycads, and there's some beautiful cycads here. Look at this one here. I also see some cacti and some euphorbias hanging out amongst these. Now this is puzzling. It looks like the Ficus elastica taniki, but they usually have oval leaves and not long leaves like this. So I wonder if this is a whole new species or if it's some that has mutated into this, but this is looking very cute. Next we have the Ficus altissima. This is a green on green variegated ficus that can grow rather large. Next we have a palm that with the common name old man's palm because they put out this beard along its trunk as it grows bigger. This is still pretty small, but they can get really large. And this next ficus really drew my eye. I did see one in Thailand that's very similar, but this is like a dwarf form of the rubber tree, I think. The next supplier contact is up on the screen and they have a lot of different aroids including aglaonemas. Yes, aglaonemas are aroids, so are these alocasias. The black velvet, these are already pretty big, looking very good. Behind it, the more common amazonica, they can take a bit of direct light. Some alocasia cuprea that is still on my wish list. I will get it someday, but that day is not today. Some Dieffenbachias here. I always like to give a hard look at these plants. Look at how beautiful and milky white the leaf of this is. I don't have this variety yet, but someday, I guess. I feel greedy every time I'm shopping for houseplants. I don't know if you guys do that too, like, oh, like someday I'll get you, but sometimes that day never arrives. There's a lot of beautiful aglaonemas here. This is the Snow White, very common here. And this one I think is Comcom, if Google image served me right. But below here, the Aglaonema Pride of Sumatra is actually very sought after. I have an episode on Sir Greg Hambali where he mentioned that this is one of his proudest works. But look at this, they're sold as cuttings and all these baby leaves are coming out from the pot. Begonia braverimosa, one of the hardest begonia to care for, but also very beautiful. I always have to say hi to one whenever I see it. This next store specializes in like full sun plants, flowering plants, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So I ended up buying a few things from their booth. But if you want to see my unboxing video, that is going to be available for YouTube Premium members as well as for my Patreon members. So if you're subscribed to any of those, feel free to check out this unboxing video to see what I bought. But this Bauhinia, look at the flowers on these. So stunning. They're given a trellis so they don't vine too out of control. The Gardenia Titanis, this is from Tahiti. Beautiful scent on these. I'm really drawn to gardenia scent. I used to have a soap variety with the gardenia essential oils until they discontinued the production. This is a variegated gardenia. It's still very small and it's not flowered profusely yet, but look at the beautiful variegation on the leaves. Really tempting to bring this home, but they are probably very mealybug. And next we have this beautiful orange flower of the gardenia that smells exactly the same as the white flower. This next booth is quite interesting. They have some sansevierias here. They also have other succulents in there that we're gonna look at in a moment. But these sansevierias are just absolutely classic. They bring so much peace and joy to whoever's holding it, viewing it. I love watching them turn into a clump like this because sometimes when we buy them, we buy as a single plant and they invariably will turn into clumps. Some Hoya variegated. Look at the heart-shaped leaves of these. I've killed so many of them. I've killed every single one that I've touched. So yeah, because these guys actually have to be treated like succulents. They hate water. And a lot of aglaonemas back here. This lady later on told me that she is a supplier for a local supermarket. So these plants that you see here are commonly sold in supermarkets in Indonesia and maybe in your region as well. Some wonderful succulents here on the screen. Feel free to slow down and enjoy them. I know I'm going a little bit too fast. Common mammillaria here, I see them everywhere. They form these beautiful clumps. There's something warm and soothing about these fuzzy type clumps just cluttering together. These are actually very common succulents and cacti that is very affordable. A lot of people buy them as gifts, but then they don't usually last very long because people tend to misunderstand the care for these plants. But whenever I go to a cafe or restaurant and I see these on the table, because I'm usually alone, they actually make really good companion. I like looking at them. It's like taking taking them out on a date with me. This is either the Thanksgiving or Christmas cactus known as Schumbergera. They are about to flower, as you can see. The little bud is coming out. I don't think they flower very long, but they do bloom quite beautifully. And here we've got some sedum. This is a burrow's tail succulent, and if you have little ones, little leaves that fall off, just tuck them back into the pot. They'll grow into these little pups. In fact, if you look at this pot above, a little baby has appeared in a different pot. How cute is that? But this is also a really, really beautiful variegated Schumbergera. I actually purchased one of these recently because they're not expensive, and I brutally murdered mine when I moved it into the green wall. Next, we have the Hoya Variegated that is 5 years old. Can you imagine growing a plant for 5 years and it's blooming right here? And the lady told me that they actually have 135 leaves. So whoever was tasked to count the number of leaves on this plant, bravo to you. Personally, for me, this is not an easy plant to care for that many years without killing it. And if you look down below, there's two types of variegation. This one has a variegation on the inside. There's also one with the variegation on the outside, which is more common. This is the name of the supplier in case you want to reach out to them. And they have more Hoya back there in the back. This owner must really love this plant. They actually have very similar color to the variegated Sansevieria trifasciata. These are some common platyceriums, the Bifurcatum, but beautiful to see them like this in a group, in a clump, easy to care for. And that up there, the big one, might be the Wandai, but I could be very wrong. And one way to appreciate platycerium is from the side, to see them like sprout out all these amazing fronds from the side. And next we have a lot of epiphyllums. I did not know that there are so many different flower types and flower colors for this plant. They're actually quite easy to care for, and they propagate so well. Slow down the video if you wanted to see these photos up close, but this one is ready to flower, and I think they only flower for 1 or 2 nights and then they kind of fall off. This plant actually trails, so you don't want to give them a hanging basket, and they can be propagated by single leaf cuttings. This booth actually came here all the way from Solo. It's about 15 hours drive from Jakarta. Now this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm in a market for crotons that can take full sun, and these guys are quite easy to care for, although a bit mealybug prone. But look at this one here, they are flowering. I did not know that they flower so beautifully. It kind of reminded me a little bit like Dracaena flowers, but they look like little fireworks that are bursting into life. The colorful foliage will also provide contrast if you already have too many greens in your landscaping, and they do need a lot of light to bring out those colors. These are some anthuriums. They're called the Genmanii here locally, but they're actually very classic looking, easy to grow, good for landscaping and also for indoors. And here we've got some variegated varieties, and they tend to need more light than the non-variegated. These guys used to cause a huge plant market crash in Indonesia because their prices were so hyped up that you could buy a house from one of these plants. But now most people who want one can afford one. And will you look at this bed of Aglaonemas? And I'm actually making a beeline towards this Aglaonema tricolor. It's been on my wish list. I've always wanted one whenever I pick it up, but today might be the day that I get this, because these guys made the effort to come here in a 15-hour drive with a full team and a truckload of plants. So yeah, I'm bringing this one home for sure. And then I discovered this super white Aglaonemas that I've always wanted as well, but these guys really did call out to me, and I'm not sure if I should get them. These are not easy to grow, and they're super slow because they have barely any chlorophyll. But look at how amazing pure white the leaves look. This next croton is really interesting. It's got a round shaped leaf with a little needle down the middle of the leaf. If you look at it closely, they said that this is a hybrid from Thailand, and they've managed to propagate it, and it's now ready for the market. But the old leaves turn black and red like this. It's got such wonderful Darth Vader type vibes that I really like. I love plants that can transform in color over time like this. Now, if you want one single vine to bush out, this is an example where if you made the cut, it will grow 2 vines where you last made the cut. And this is their contact information if you're ever interested. Now Bagas, who's been shopping with me this whole time, is trying to decide which orchid to get. He's very, very excited. And there are all these Phalaenopsis hybrids here. So I told him you should select the flower that you like and then not look at the flower health or quality. Rather, you should look at the leaves, because the more leaves it has, the more easier and faster it's going to produce the next flowering spike. Because orchids actually put out flowers very slowly. Like a leaf like this could take, I don't know, a month and a half or up to 3 months to put out a whole new leaf. Unless you just want to buy an orchid for one single bloom, in which case you should probably just look at the flowers. I would definitely recommend looking at healthy leaves and more leaves surface rather than the flower itself. Because when you buy these flowers, they only will last, I don't know, 2 to 3 months, and then you will have to wait for reblooms. Now, and as for me, I did discover this orchid, also Phalaenopsis hybrid, I believe, but look at how profusely it's flowering. This is a very compact orchid, but it's put out a flower spike with at least, I don't know, 10, 12 flowers that is very, very closely grown together. I think that if you give this a nice pot, it would look really good on the tabletop. Next, we have the Orchid Nursery. We did 2 episodes here, so feel free to check those out if you want to see how Orchid grows and cares for and also propagates her Sansevierias. She showed her very rare Sansevieria collection with us. It's a wonderful video for beginners as well as for advanced Sansevieria collectors. There are many different price points, shapes, sizes, and variegated ones in this booth. This one here caught my eye because it's about to flower. Look at that. The blooms are just about to begin. And there's another one here. This is a rare variegated Sansevieria that is about to bloom. This is actually very, very exciting. And if you're into hybridizing work, this is ecstatic for you probably. Now I'm going a bit fast, but if you slow down, you'll see wonderful designs on these Sansevierias. And it blows my mind that a plant this small is putting out a flower spike that big. This is the last booth that we're going to visit today. This is Hamsia Flora. They do a lot of cycads here as well as these rare Encephalardos. If I'm not wrong, they're probably the supplier for my dad's Encephalardos collection, but these are ancient plants that are from the prehistoric time. The Dion Idule, this is also very, very stunning, quite affordable for a cycad. If I'm not wrong, Encephalardos have been around 280 million years old. There's some wonderful palms back there, and the statement piece is this bromeliad, which is the Alcantaria imperialis variegated. This is actually very expensive, and look how majestic it looks. And then back here we've got more of these Aglaonemas. I'm kicking myself in the foot now because I didn't check this out before I bought it, but there are a few selections here as well. And there's an array of rare aeroids up on the shelf. This one is interesting because it's like a variegated Adamsonia that's, I would say, it's white mint because it's full mint on the leaves. This is the first time I'm seeing this, although I can imagine that this will grow rather slowly. Now there are some of the more common variegated ones in the back. These are the ones that we're more familiar with. There's a Billieti variegated back there and some Rhaphidophora tetrasperma variegated. I'm sure they're a bit more affordable now, but still unattainable for most of us. It used to be so hyped up and everyone was rushing to get these, but nowadays anyone who wanted one can get one. Same as these variegated Monsteras. Next we have the variegated Plumeria. This is on my wish list. I really love the foliage and I love how they grow, and they also do flower, but I don't have the space for this for now, and these guys are also very mealybug prone, so I haven't really been able to take care of my plants so diligently. So for now I'll just enjoy the ones that I see out in public.
Alright, I'm done filming for today. It's getting pretty dark. We only went through half of the space here. There were a lot of people I had to say hi to and actually bought some plants. So if you want to check out my plant haul, it's only available for premium members of the channel. Unfortunately, it's a paid membership, but I'm going to start to implement that so that I can make a little bit of earning from extra bonus content like that. Thank you so much for coming along with me. It's been fun and I hope that you guys are doing well. Take care. Bye-bye.